The Raptors had a great start to preseason, having a monster win over the Sacramento Kings, playing team basketball, and lots of great stuff. However, the one question, the one concern was about Gradey Dick and the fact that he was outside the rotation despite being a lottery pick for the Toronto Raptors and fulfilling a desperate need that the Toronto Raptors need in terms of improving their three-point shooting. However, Darko Rajakovic commented on Gradey Dick's sort of future with the team, his role in not getting a bunch of minutes at the start of the game last one. So we'll break down what he had to say, as it was fairly encouraging to hear as a Toronto Raptors fan. Also, O.G. Anunoby seems to have been disrespected once again on one of these lists, so we'll break down how ESPN ended up ranking the top 100 players and where the Toronto Raptors sort of fell within that. So lots of stuff to break down in this video. Without further ado, let's jump to the first topic discussion. First thing we're taking a look at is Darko Rajakovic addressing Gradey Dick's minutes. So again, I said in the intro, the first preseason game was awesome. I had a full post-game reaction if you want me to dive into the nitty-gritty of how that game went, but the Raptors' offense looked good. We had guys off the bench, particularly McDaniels, really impressing. Gary obviously hitting shots, and obviously they're in the wing spots, but one guy that we mentioned this entire offseason, someone that we want in the rotation, even if it doesn't make perfect sense, even there's players marginally better than him right now, we want Gradey Dick to get minutes, not get lost in the pine, not get lost in sort of the Nick Nursery, the doghouse of the Toronto Raptors, even though Darko's doghouse, that might be the new name rather than the Nick Nursery. But we want to see him get minutes as his development, his future, right? The Raptors have struggled developing young players in recent years, and yes, they've had the G League, yes, they've had different things, but Gradey Dick is a lottery pick. He fills a positional need, and the Raptors could just really use a guy that can knock down shots. And, I was a little bit concerned that he wasn't in the rotation at all for the first three quarters, really, or, the first half of the third quarter, and, in the first preseason game, especially where it's just preseason. You want to see him run with the other star players. However, Darko Rajakovic sort of addressed these sort of concerns following the post game and had me encouraged. So we'll break down what he had to say here.
Now, we talked about it, that Gradey is doing such an amazing job, and he is future of this organization, and but he cannot skip any steps, and tonight was great for him to get on the court, to get a feel of a real NBA game, and the speed and all of that, those are bright lights for him, and he still needs to go through those. Those are all learning curves for him, but he's going to do a great job with that.
And were you happy with how, like, the top 10 guys, you sort of mixed and matched them in the first half? Were you happy with how the different lineups?
Yeah, obviously, it's a first game of preseason. We showed some really good things there, both on offense and defense, but this is just a first step in a long journey.
Again, Gradey Dick, not skipping any steps. He's not going to be handed anything, but Darko understands that Gradey is a part of the future of the Toronto Raptors. He's been progressing greatly. He's not sort of throwing him under the bus saying, oh, he needs to get better at defense. He's not doing these types of things, as Nick Nurse has sometimes mentioned with players coming in with their first season of the Toronto Raptors, harking back to guys like Rondae Hollis-Jefferson and Stanley Johnson. Darko has all the highest praise. He talks about how he's the future, understands that it's sort of a process to get him in, and that's all I'm asking for. I want Gradey to have that opportunity to grow, have that opportunity to sort of develop into the player he needs to be, and have those opportunities, but I think Darko's coming at it from the right approach. It's not him saying, oh, this guy's young, he's not ready, throw him in the doghouse. No, he wants Gradey to sort of take those steps, get those NBA reps in him during preseason to the point where, come the season comes around, he'll be able to sort of get his feet really wet with the Toronto Raptors and hopefully, add some wins to this Toronto Raptors team. Again, we need that shooting, plus Gary Trent Jr. was great. McDaniels was great shooting the ball off the bench for the Toronto Raptors, but having more shooting coming off that bench and integrating to the starting lineup. I mean, with Schroeder, Scottie Barnes, Jakob Poeltl, we can always have some more floor spacing. So Gradey Dick, being developed along, under the sort of eyes of Darko Rajakovic with, the focus being on development and teamwork and all that stuff this season. I'm encouraged. So I'm not going to worry too much about him not being in the rotation for much of the first preseason game. But next thing we're taking a look at is something that you guys always roast me when I get a little riled up about this stuff, but basically, O.G. Anunoby getting disrespected. It's that time of year, folks. Those top 100 lists, they're always on their way back. They're always returning this time of year. And a couple of Toronto Raptors got their name sort of put into this list, and behind some interesting players. I know it's rage bait. I know it's ESPN trying to get clicks and trying to get people like me to react to it on YouTube and get people fired up and stuff, but I just don't like it. I don't like it. It's particularly this one regarding O.G. Anunoby. As O.G. Anunoby's at 67th, and he bumped up from last year, which is a little bit interesting. He was always ranked a little bit low, but given his defense and how he's a guy that's All NBA caliber defender, knocks down threes. He's untradeable in Damian Lillard discussions, so that sort of gauges his value out there in the open market. But basically, OG Anunoby's put at 67th, but the players ahead of him were the big ones, the big question marks, as Austin Reeves was put a position ahead of OG Anunoby, as well as Miles Turner. And personally, yes, Austin Reeves, he's him. He had a big playoff run, knocked down shots, all that type of stuff. Are we sure Austin Reeves is a much better offensive player than OG Anunoby? Like, looking at efficiency, looking at all that type of stuff. I know he had a solid playoff run and all that, but, OG Anunoby is a solid three shooter, can drive the lanes, hitting middies, was remarkably efficient in his first game in preseason, but defensively, I think it's marginal. Austin Reeves might have a little edge on OG Anunoby in the offensive end, but defensively, it's not even close. It's not in the same stratosphere of Austin Reeves and OG Anunoby. OG is just that guy. He's that much better than Austin Reeves. The fact he's behind him on this list, a little bit shocking. It feels like one of those baits that they're throwing out to Raptors fans. They put it one spot above, to really fire people up. But Austin Reeves can put ahead of OG Anunoby. It's silly. Again, youth and all that type of stuff, but that's not what this is about. Top 100 list. It's top 100 players right now. One guy that fell tremendously from his sort of projection last year is Scottie Barnes, who is now at 63. Last year he was at 39 coming into the season. I guess it makes sense. They were projecting him to take a massive leap forward. He didn't, so they're not projecting that for this upcoming year. And I think that probably is a mistake, given the fact Scottie Barnes looks really good. He's put on some muscle, right? Looked really strong in that first preseason game. Obviously can't overreact to game 1 of preseason, but the fact he fell that much just from year 2 to year 3 during the season, most of these sort of younger players in their third year, they usually take that leap. Feels like a little bit of a knock, and I get it because he didn't take the leap last season, so it's hard to project forward, but Scottie Barnes is a guy I'm looking forward to really fulfilling that Rookie of the Year potential, fulfilling that sort of role as the Toronto Raptors sort of lead point forward, right? Darko's talked about the ball being in his hands more often this season. Looked confident firing the ball away from 3 in the first game, and the jumper looked a bit quicker, even if those threes didn't end up going down, but always, as always, can dominate the lane, stick his shoulder into people, and finish around the bucket. And facilitating defensively, Scottie Barnes, being at that, I think the jump is more egregious. Looking at the players ahead of him, I get most of them, where everything is at and how Scottie performed last season, but I don't know. Fred was also ahead of OG Anunoby, which I found to be questionable a little bit, but we'll see what ends up happening. I guess Fred got the big contract. He was the lead guy for the Toronto Raptors for last year. But let me know what you guys think about this top 100 list. There's going to be 50 more results that comes out, so it might have a reaction where Pascal is at and all that type of stuff. But let me know what you guys think. You guys are the best to make it this far. Subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. Lots of Raptors is just around the corner. The return is just around the corner. So, subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't. Anyways, I'm signing out. Cheers.